So we have ourselves some updates with the Montreal Canadiens that I wanted to dive into here in this video. And I'm not gonna lie, these updates aren't necessarily good news, but they are things that we can dive into. We've got some contract talks, we've got some trade talks. Let's dive into Montreal Canadiens D-man Lane Hutson to start out this video. A very talented individual, and a player who happens to have Canadian citizenship. Who would have known? Anyways, let's just skip past the Lane Hutson potentially playing for Team Canada thing for now, and dive into the latest with him and his contract. So Hutson, his contract expires at the end of 25-26. He's got 1 year left on the deal, and he's coming off of a 66-point in 82-game campaign. Say what you want about Team USA leaving him off of their orientation Olympic camp roster, but Lane Hutson is a very talented piece, and he's a guy that I think a lot of Canadiens fans would prefer seeing get locked up long-term, 8 years with the Montreal Canadiens. Well, we have ourselves an update as to what the contract offers seem to have been, courtesy of Grant McCagg and his show. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description to this article on donlescoulisses.com by Charles-Alexis Brisebois, because it goes out there and transcribes some of McCagg's programming, the Recruits Show. Take a look at this. Lane Hutson received only one contract offer this summer, says Grant McCagg. The article opens up by talking about Lane Hutson, who here, raising their hand, thought the Canadiens would quickly sign this guy to a long-term deal. Many people thought that. But hey, we're a week away from the Canadiens golf tournament and we have to face the facts. Hugo and Rob Hutson, Lane Hutson's agent, are not close to an agreement. Okay, we're not going to go out there and say that. Rob Hutson. On the subject of actually making the contract signing go through, Grant McCagg on his Habscast Recruits podcast gave information on the Hutson contract situation. Basically, the former scout mentions that the Hutson group received only one contract offer during the summer. It didn't live up to Lane Hutson's expectations, who ended up saying no. Because these negotiations aren't moving very quickly, McCagg expects them to be done next summer. By force of circumstances, the more the case progresses, the more we understand that in the very short term, unless there is a change, there will be no Lane Hutson extension signed. Time isn't of the essence in terms of his contract situation, since he has 1 year left on his ELC, and he isn't eligible for arbitration or offer sheets in 2026. But Lane Hutson can play well and add value regardless. And most importantly, in the meantime, Hutson's party will have to keep quiet so as not to become a distraction around Lane. Because seeing his agent defend his father's words by saying it was the media's fault that Rob Hutson's quote went viral, that's not very good. Now, we're not going to dive too deeply into the response as to Rob Hutson and the commentary about Lane becoming a Team Canada player, but I did think it was interesting to hear this update here from McCagg, that Lane Hutson apparently was only really offered one contract, and it was a little bit low, and he said, nah, sorry. This doesn't really incite any reason to panic, in my opinion. Like, I think a lot of Canadiens fans sort of understood already from the get-go that Lane Hutson not signing right away was very much a possibility. In fact, it was probably the more likely possibility here. For Lane Hutson and his party, it's like, why would you sign right now? Why would you put all of the power in Montreal's hands? Why would you not want to wait a little bit, see if Lane Hutson can have an even better 25-26 campaign than he had in 24-25? And at that point, potentially increase his value. If Lane Hutson is a point-per-game defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens to start out the 25-26 year, then there's no reason for him to hold out and to try to get any sort of a cheaper deal. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I think, Lane Hutson is this Mitch Marner-esque, money-hungry, penny-pinching, get as much money as you can type of dude. Of course, that's probably not the case. There are other players on the Canadiens that are making a lot of money, and Hutson has to share the wealth. But if there's a difference between $5 and $9 or $11 million bucks. Obviously, Hutson and his party have it in their best interest to take it. So with all this in mind, it's not surprising here. Hutson and his party, they're going to wait it out a little bit. Montreal isn't really looking to get a contract done right now either. They kind of understand, it's not really too much of a focus for the team right now to invest all this time into getting a Hutson extension done at this point. So, based off of the information received here, it seems like we're going to have to wait a year before Hutson's contract ends up getting finalized for 26 and beyond. Now, let's change our tone a little bit and start talking about some other things with the Canadiens. Like this. It was posted on BPM Sports Talk Radio's Twitter account, and it's a quote from Renaud Lavoie on the program. Will Kent Hughes pull another rabbit out of his hat in the coming weeks? Your opinion? And you will see the quote here from Renaud Lavoie. Yes, they will have another trade. The only problem is, we just don't know the exact date. So, color me surprised. Oh yeah, this is the most incredible trade update we would have seen out of the Montreal Canadiens, but nah, it does not seem like the Montreal team has themselves a trade done just yet. It's going to happen soon, though. Or who knows, maybe by the time this video is uploaded on YouTube, another trade is already gone in the books. It's possible. I mean, yesterday, or 2 days ago, we made a video talking about Kent Hughes' next move after trading Carey Price, talking about some of the other names involved there. Ryan O'Reilly could potentially be in there, Jared McCann. I mean, there are some guys in New Jersey, Dawson Mercer. Could you see a Utah Mammoth, Nick Schmaltz coming over to Montreal? It doesn't seem like that sort of a trade is anywhere close to happening, but Renaud Lavoie is saying that it is going to happen. We just have to wait. So for Montreal, I do kind of question where they go in the center market heading into the next few weeks here. Internally, they do have options. Of course, you want to see some of the Canadiens guys take a big step up. Like, imagine how easy all of this would have been if Kirby Dach just ended up becoming as good as he should have become. Like, that guy was a third overall pick, a number one center to be the next Ryan Getzlaf. If he ended up just becoming that good, then there'd be no problems here. Montreal would have a fantastic top two center punch. Newhook, same thing. If this guy maxed out at becoming his top six capable potential ceiling, then okay, amazing center core here with Suzuki, Dach, and Newhook. But 2 out of the 3 guys are admittedly quite disappointing, and now Montreal has to go out there and start looking in the wastelands for a center that might not actually be available because there are so few on the market. Ultimately, though, Renaud Lavoie concludes that the trade is going to happen. We just need to know when. And with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Firstly, how do you feel about this Lane Hutson contract update? The guy got offered something, it was quite low, he said no, and the Habs and Kent Hughes decided to move on from exploring that a little bit further. And we also have ourselves trade talk that will take itself into the next few weeks. Thoughts in the comment section below about the Montreal Canadiens and where things are going to go from here. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.